Yes, people, welcome back to the SPTC podcast. I, as always, am your host, Jay McIntosh, who graced the Sky Sports News studio again this week. Beautiful stuff. I'll get it on the site. I can see Danny rolling his eyes. Si's smiling, though, like a proud father, so I'll take that. Joined, well, I'd say as ever, but not by Simon Phillips. Si, how are you doing? I know you've got about 25 minutes with us before you have to crack on with your important life, but how are you?
Yeah, I'm very well, mate. It's 1 in, 1 out, isn't it? 1 week in, 1 week out. Next week, I'm not here either.
God,
I think I'm on this podcast more than you now, Simon.
Luke definitely is. You're probably close.
I think Danny's probably, yeah. I think Danny might be overtaking you as well. I mean, Danny, how are you doing? Nice to join us, Danny Windsor, as basically as always now.
Yeah, no, I'm good, mate. I'm good.
Nice. We were doing some sort of hair chat before the
Simon was leading that conversation.
I was going to say, Si was the ringleader in that, as you'd imagine. But I guess we've got a few things to talk about. I quite like this off-season down period because things aren't super intense. But Si, you're the transfers man. I know you absolutely adore talking about transfers. So we'll talk about a few players before we talk about the Club World Cup. Do you want to just give us a quick update on what's been going on, Si?
So, transfer roundups, there's nothing major going on apart from Jamie Gittens. That's the biggest one right now. I don't think we're going to see too much more in terms of activity until, the Club World Cup is over, or at least a bit further down the line. I mean, there's nothing even on outgoings right now. It's still just interest. But Gittens is expected to be done, as everyone is out there reporting now. I think Fab Romano put the latest one out and saying that it's closer again. They just need to find the agreement on the fee, which has been ongoing now for the last couple of days. They're both out there in America talking. So, yeah, the expectation is that it gets done. Bayern Munich are interested, obviously, so it's not done yet, and they could still come in, but they haven't at this moment in time. So, yeah, Chelsea expected to sign Gittens. And the only other thing really...
Just on the Gittens thing, because I know you're going to mention ter Stegen in a second. Does that have any Carney Chukwuemeka implications?
I haven't heard that it does, but their director came out today and said that they want to have him. But the last I heard on that was they still wanted him on loan and not a permanent deal. So they wanted to do another loan deal. Mm-hmm. I don't know whether that would suit Chelsea. But yeah, I mean, I guess, it's never direct swap deals, is it, at the moment? They're kind of favours. Chelsea will buy a player from a club for a certain fee, and then they'll get a discount on a player that they sell to that club. So it kind of works like that. So I guess it could still come into play with Carney.
I wonder if maybe they get a better fee or like more on add-ons or something like that as part of then agreeing to let Carney go on loan there, as an example. But I'd imagine Chelsea would push for some sort of obligation because they've wanted to get rid of him for 2 years now.
He'll definitely be discussed in these talks. 100%. They want him, and it's been clear that Chelsea have been trying to sell him. He's got quite high wages, I think, so they're keen to get those off the books. So I think I
can't really believe Nkunku doesn't come into these conversations. To be honest with you,
The problem with Nkunku is he's got so limited amount of people who could actually sign him due to what wages he's on here, and probably not wanted to take a massive cut. Like there was talks of Leipzig and stuff like that, but it's like, I can't see him going back to Leipzig on like 60, 80 grand a week when he's been earning 200, 250 here. So there's only really like 6, 8 clubs in the world that could actually sign Nkunku for the wages, and if you don't include Saudi.
Yeah, I guess Man United fall into that, and I'm not sure he'd want to go to Man United necessarily. I think all the other clubs that we'd all think Real Madrid, PSG, etc., probably not that interested in him, or probably doesn't quite fit what they're after. I
always thought PSG, but I just don't think he fits with what Enrique does. He doesn't play with the 10, and he's not really a number 9. But then I suppose he could play false 9 for them because he just played Dembele there, but haven't seen any of those links.
Yeah, he's also just not as dynamic as those attackers that Enrique's been sort of collecting at PSG. He's a different style player. I agree with you. I've always thought PSG makes the most sense for someone like Nkunku, and maybe still does, and he gives a different option. Like, I think he's probably better than someone like Gonzalo Ramos there. But yeah, I don't know, man. It's a bit funky. I'm surprised that there's not been... I would have been surprised if there was no conversation around whether Dortmund would be interested in Nkunku, because they might not be able to pay top wages, but Dortmund, they can pay enough in wages, really. They always have more money than they like to lead on. So
do you think it's the combination of the fee and the wages? Like Chelsea are going to want 50, 60 million, and he's going to want minimum 150, 200 grand a week, I would imagine. So that's a very expensive deal for a club like Dortmund.
100%. And given that he's not actually had the game time that would be desirable for both the club and the player over the last 18 months or so due to injury pretty much, it makes that deal a little bit harder. Si, you were going to mention a German goalkeeper that's 33 years old that's made of glass as well?
Yeah, well, goalkeepers in general, because although there is interest in Ter Stegen from Barcelona, he's not, there's nothing happened there yet. He's just another name that they've got on the shortlist. They still, as far as I'm aware, as far as I'm hearing, even up to this week, that they still plan to go back for Mike Maignan. And that's going to be later in the window because they can see Milan getting concerned about, obviously, his contract. And at the moment, he's not communicated that he's going to sign a new deal there. So Chelsea feel that if they leave it, then Milan are just going to have to sell him anyway, come the end of the window. So, we've got a little bit of time to wait for that. That's going to be another couple of months, I think, before Chelsea go back in for him. If they do, that is, if they do. I'm hearing that that's the plan. But, it all depends on what Milan are going to accept, whether they're still going to be on Chelsea's terms. They're not going to pay the 25 million that Milan were asking initially for him. So it will still have to be on Chelsea's terms. We know that he would like the move. He would have joined, on the deadline day, the first one, a few weeks back. So it's really on Chelsea. And at the moment, you're seeing everything in the media saying Chelsea don't want a goalkeeper. They're happy with what they got. They're not going back in for Maignan. And I think all of that is just Chelsea's play. Yeah, or bollocks. It's Chelsea's tactical way of just saying that. Just leaving it and showing that they're not desperate for a new goalkeeper, but they are. They still want a goalkeeper. I wouldn't say desperate, but they definitely want to sign a new goalkeeper this summer. And Ter Stegen is another one that's come up on the list this morning. I checked in with two sources, and they both confirmed that he's definitely a name who's come back on the list because we actually did try and sign him back in 2022. That was the first time we looked at him. So he has been on our radar for a little while, and that was under these current owners. So yeah, he's definitely a player that Chelsea like.
It's crazy to think that Ter Stegen, because I remember Ter Stegen being a really big deal when he was at Borussia Mönchengladbach, and he's been playing for Barcelona for 11 years now. He's been there since 2014. He's played 420 plus games for Barca, and won everything. It's absolutely unbelievable. Like, I really rate Ter Stegen, or have rated him throughout his entire career. Now at 33. And I think he had just over or just under 600 minutes in La Liga last season. He had injury problems. They had to bring Szczesny in, who's now staying as well. And now they've brought Joan Garcia in, who we spoke about being linked with Chelsea, which obviously caused a few ricochets in the area because he's an Espanyol boy going to Barcelona, which doesn't really happen too often. But I think it's okay I think he's going to be fine, which means Ter Stegen might be available. And on maybe a 1-year deal or a 2-year deal, I can kind of see he's very, very good with the ball at his feet, but he's not the same player he was a couple of seasons ago, let alone 5 or 6 seasons ago. Danny, what do you think?
Yeah, I think Chelsea are in a sticky situation because they've put themselves in that. They signed Sanchez, they signed Petrovic, they signed Jorgensen, signed Penders. I mean, if you look at it, last year they signed 1 and 2 most expensive goalkeepers that moved last year in Jorgensen and Penders. So they've put themselves in that sticky situation. They rate Penders extremely highly. They see him as Courtois with good feet in the making. So any goalkeeper move kind of has implications on everything, because if you go and sign, say, Mike Maignan, and he's 30, 31 or whatever he is, and he still can do it for 3 years, you're kind of saying to Penders that for the next 2, you don't want to, you don't really have a shot. And then in 3 years, you can fight it out, but you might still not be number 1. And I think they're very conscious of having another Courtois situation where when he comes back from his loans, he doesn't really care about the club. He just wants to play, and he might go and fall in love with another club if he goes and plays there for 2 years, like Courtois did, and he loved being in Madrid. So they've put themselves in this sticky situation. So I'm not surprised they're looking at a Magnon or a ter Stegen age type goalkeeper where they're definitely number one for at least 1 year, and then the second year maybe that he can fight it out or what have you. And then they also have Jorgensen, who was meant to be pretty highly rated when they brought him in, and he's still only 24, whatever. But I mean, if you can't get rid of Sanchez as number one, then I'm not sure I can really rate you that highly. And I think outside of mistakes, Sanchez is actually a pretty good shot stopper, but he's woeful with his feet. So I'd imagine they're just kind of tossing up with, well, you could go and get a ter Stegen or a Magnon who are better with their feet, but they're probably not as maybe potentially as good as shot stopper as Magnon, as outside of silly mistakes. So yeah, I mean they've fucked themselves over by buying 5 goalkeepers in 2.5 years, and now it's not simple to do. But if we start the season with Sanchez in goal, I will lose my fucking shit. So let's hope they buy a goalkeeper.
Sai, sticking with the transfer talk before we go to the Club World Cup, I saw something on the site, as I'm sure listeners did, where there was some discussion about Liverpool's transfer business. What was going on there? Because they seem to be having the most outstanding window, right?
Yeah, I think it was just one of the regular commenters on the site, Matt Kirk, I think it is. He put a comment on this week, and yeah, he's basically talking about his envy towards Liverpool and how they've operated so far this window and how they're sort of doing their business. And then he got into a debate with a couple of other community members, and it was actually a really good debate and some interesting points were made. I mean, it's long, so I recommend people go and read it all if they haven't yet. But yeah, it's basically, talking about Liverpool and the structure that they've got now, and and then people are pointing out the fact that they've been there. The Fenway Group took over in 2010. They've had a long time to do it, and comparing it with Chelsea's situation and how Chelsea have changed already, since they first came in with Todd Bowley just kind of signing anyone based on what Thomas Tuchel was telling him, and how Chelsea are sort of merging into this. But it was more based around, the business that Liverpool have done already this window and how quick they're operating, and they're just going bang, 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 getting stuff done and not having to worry.
Outstanding window. Liverpool.
I agree, but they've also, in the last 10 years, they've only had, this would be their second good window in the whole entire 10 years, because they did Alisson, Van Dijk, Salah. Then they fucked about for ages, had a DM for ages. They bought a lot of shit like Nunes and people like that. And then again, they're having a really good window, which makes sense, and stuff like that. But I think it's a little bit over exaggerating, saying, "Oh my God, we're so jealous of how Liverpool are," because you can say that for this summer, but longer term, if you go back, I mean, I've got one of my best mates as a Liverpool fan. He's been losing his head with the club for ages, screaming, "We've needed a backup right back. We've needed a new left back. We've needed another striker, etc., etc." So yeah, I do think it's a little bit over exaggerated, but it would be nice if Chelsea at least could have a good window like Liverpool are now, and being precise. And I think where that frustration may come from and the jealousy is, Chelsea clearly need a goalkeeper, a centre-back, a striker and a left winger. And so far we've signed Delap, who looks good but might not be the answer. Maybe Gittins, who looks good but maybe not the answer. Telling everybody in the media we don't want a goalkeeper, and we've not really seen any links to any centre-backs for quite a while. So I think that's the frustration and the jealousy where it comes from.
Are you jealous of Arsenal signing Kepa Arrizabalaga, anyone?
No.
He's a backup.
I think we should just pay somebody to stamp on Raya's hand first game and make them have to play for 6 months with Kepa in goal, because that would be hilarious.
You do realise that when Arsenal get to the Champions League quarter-final and David Raya breaks his fingers and Kepa has to play, Arsenal are going to go from 2nd to 5th swiftly, and they're going to start stinking up. It's really good to see. But I mean, I quite like it.
Norgard is such a weird transfer.
I love Norgard. I remember.
Yeah, he's good, but they just seem to be so short-sighted at Arsenal at the minute, and with like fairly average like signings as well. Because like, yeah, Kepa's a good backup, but I mean, him and Raya are both like over 30. They're not really there for the long run. You're getting rid of Partey and you're buying Norgard, who is like 6 months younger than Partey.
Yeah, but
so it's just a bit strange.
Partey's, I mean, I don't want to get into libel talk, but Partey's a bit pesky. Let's say he's a bit pesky.
Yeah, but they would have signed him on a new deal if he didn't want more money. That was the issue. It wasn't that they didn't want to sign him. They're quite happy with the unnamed player in the Premier League situation. It was just he wanted more money.
Number five.
Yeah,
unnamed number 5 in the Premier League, whose tweets we've seen.
Who might now be named. Now he's not in the Premier League anymore.
Yeah, 100%. It's going to go and play for Al Hilal and maybe named all of a sudden. How weird. I'm a big fan of the Norgard move, to be fair. I've been backing that for ages. The kid's a baller. Although it does make me think.
Can't call him a kid, bro. He's 31.
Yeah, he is 31. Brentford might go down. I think Brentford might go down.
A rogue manager choice.
Shocking manager choice, by the way. Shocking
set-piece coach. Weird.
Yeah, terrible. Losing their captain or one of their captains is not good, and I think they're going to really struggle. And I think that Leeds will stay in the Prem, so I think that means that there's one more spot open. So I'm not.
Yeah, Leeds would be interesting because obviously their links with like the Red Bull Group.
Yeah,
they should have quite a lot of money or like access to certain
they're
players
massive clubs as well.
So, yeah, they are for sure. But yeah, I agree with you. Brentford could be in big trouble. I mean, if I was Wissa, I'd be trying to get out of there big time.
Yeah,
he's a very good player.
Yeah, as would I, and if I was Kevin Schade as well, I think he's a really good player. And Damsgaard, I think they've got a couple of good players, but when they lose Thomas Frank, I think that's a massive loss to them. And then you start to take him and pick players apart. I know Mbuemo's not gone yet, but he's looking likely to go. Do you want to talk Club World Cup quickly, Si, before you go?
Yeah, go on then.
So Chelsea beat ES Tunis 3-0. Delap goal, I guess, being the standout point. There's a few talking points from the game that I want to touch on. Benfica up next to obviously beat Bayern Munich. Second in Liga NOS by only 2 points to Victor Gyökeres's Sporting Lisbon, a club that Luco is still very keen on acquiring at some point in the future, I'm sure. It's better than playing Bayern Munich, I suppose. So we'll take Benfica. But if we just stick to the game specifically, I want to ask you, Si, a few things. Delap's goal was outstanding, so a few thoughts on him. I also would like a little bit on Josh Achimpong and Tyreek George and the potential what happens with George, I suppose, if Gittins comes in. And then if you want to give any flowers to Enzo before you go do that, because he has been flawless.
Fernandez, let's just clarify, not Maresca.
Yes. Don't worry, Danny. We'll get onto the Maresca stuff in a bit, Daniel. We'll get onto that. I know Luke has said in the group chat he's very keen to hear Danny's rant about Maresca, so we'll get there. But let's start with Enzo. Enzo Fernandez first. Goodness me.
Yeah, he set up the goal, didn't he? And they've already got that. You can just tell when you watch players, like new guys come in, and there's just that connection between them. Like Delap's got it with Palmer as well, and I think players like Palmer and Fernandez, when they've got that vision, when they're always scanning and looking for a runner, someone like Delap is an absolute beast, and just a godsend for them to have up top now to look for. And I think Delap is exactly what we've been missing up top. People are getting carried away, and I'm going to be careful not to try and do that at the moment because he's still a young player, and we know he needs to improve in certain areas of his game. But he's already added really good movement. I think, even better movement than we had before. Physicality, he's added that. He's added a presence, which is, 3 things that we needed to tick the boxes for, and we already have. So I think his performance was very good. I called it a typical Nines performance because he was doing everything. He was, very back to goal when he needed to be. He was dropping in, collecting the ball and linking up the play, but he was also making the correct runs out wide and in behind when he needed to be. So it was a complete performance, really. And it's intriguing to see how he continues to go on, because I feel like he's a he's a player that like backs himself confidence-wise. He really does. He doesn't seem to be fazed by anything at all at the moment. So that's going to really help him. Wearing the Chelsea number 9, we all know that the pressure that comes with that, and he doesn't seem fazed by it. So it's great. It's a great start from him, but people need to calm down on the comparisons, I think.
I will say on that point though, even Tosin, who's from City Academy but a bit older, like I don't think Lavia, Palmer, or Delap look fazed by anything ever. To be honest with you, maybe that's something that comes from the academy system that they've been nurtured in.
Yeah, I think with Tosin, I did see it at the start of the season when he first came. I did see him a little bit nervous, but now you don't see that at all. I think he's really come on. I did an article about him, giving him flowers basically. And
yes,
his performance the other day was really good, and I think in the last 2 months his performances have been really good. Not just how he's played, but how much more dominating he's been, which is what we've needed him to do. And yeah, like you say, Jay, he's looked very unfazed. He's looked a lot more confident. But at the start, I didn't see that. Not really.
I thought we got scammed on a free transfer when he first came, to be honest with you.
Yeah,
I was like, oh, for fuck's sake, here we go. But no, on the Delap stuff, I agree with Simon. I found it really funny when he came out and in the interview afterwards and just said that Enzo said to him, when I've got the ball, just make a run and I'll find you. Or basically just go and run when I have the ball, basically. I thought that was quite funny. But yeah, I agree.
Yeah,
he looks great.
Hold on, it's very similar to what... Do you see the Mbappe interview recently for France?
No.
He was asked by a reporter why he doesn't make the runs in behind so often, and he said, well, we don't have Pogba, so I could run blindly and be found without worrying. And I think that's kind of made me think of the Enzo Delap thing, where if Delap can just run into space without worrying whether the ball's going to be there, because it will be put there either by Cole or Lavia or Enzo, that's just so helpful, isn't it?
100%. I think it just is building a little bit more of a we're not just Palmer FC, at least from a attention perspective. Obviously, we'll see what the output comes, but he's such a handful that you can't just leave him. Whereas, with Jackson, you can kind of let him do something in front of you, because if he comes towards you, he's either going to make his donkey's touch or he's going to be just pushed off the ball. I'm not getting carried away with Delap because I still have PTSD from that preseason tour of Jackson when we thought we'd signed the next Drogba or whoever, whatever people were saying, and then he turns out to be who he is, a petulant little child. But yeah, let's see what happens. I still don't think... I'm still scared of only having Delap and Jackson, and if I would be selling Jackson immediately. I'd be hitting up Aston Villa and saying, Uncle Emery, would you like your protege in Jackson, and we'll take Rodgers off your hands and fix your PSR issues. That's what I would be doing.
Yeah, you can have.
But
Jackson,
yeah, I mean, I just worry about you imagine going to the Bernabeu with Delap and Jackson as your number 9 options. It just doesn't give me inspiration that we'd go and do something. I mean, Delap could grow into that. I've sold all my stocks in Jackson. I don't want him there anymore.
Yeah, to be honest with you, I don't really mind the idea of Delap playing there. Like, again, he's unfazed. Like, I think I don't think he gives a shit when he plays.
He looks unfazed at the moment, but let's see when it comes to Prem and when he's got 42,000 unreasonable Chelsea fans shouting at him if he misses a chance, or losing their head at Sanchez kicking the ball out all the time, and then the pressure's on, and going to the Bernabeu and stuff like that. Let's see how unfazed he is then. Because he's never played in that. It's a very soft, easy pre-season type corner tournament to come in and get your kind of get into it, like Jackson had when he looked great under Poch for the first few games in pre-season. So let's see.
I forget that Poch used to manage Chelsea. Si, before you go, because I know you need to go in a second, is there anything you want to discuss, anything you want to plug, anything you want to talk about?
I'll be back on the app for the game on Saturday night. I missed the last game. Missed the last 2 games actually. So yeah, I'll be back on the app for that one. So everyone join me there.
Beautiful.
Not sure it's going to be a particularly exciting game because Benfica played with a 6-3-1 kind of formation against Bayern the other day. So, and we are awful when we play that. So
we'll see.
I thought Bayern were bad too. But Si, thank you so much for joining us, gracing us with your presence. We will catch you when we catch you. We'll see you later.
Yeah.
Danny, let's talk
Just
about
on just before we go on to Benfica, I just wanted to add to what we were talking about, like how people knowing the movements and can play and the cohesion and stuff like that. Half of me just goes, you get Gittins, they've already played with each other. You get Rodgers, they've already played with each other's, and maybe just go hit up City for Oscar Bob and then just play just pure ex-City academy football. Like they know each other. Let's just play.
I love Oscar Bob.
Oh,
I
so
love
good.
Oscar.
Yeah,
What
so
a
good.
footballer he is. He is so good, man.
He'd make Noni look terrible in about 3 games.
Yeah, I do think Oscar Bob's better than Noni, to be fair. I do think Noni gets a fair bit of disrespect that's not always warranted, but Oscar
Noni's
Bob
just so hot and cold, mate. That's the problem, is one game he can look really good, and due to his like lackadaisical attitude and demeanour on the pitch, when you're having a stinker and you're too busy pulling your shorts down every 15 seconds, people get on your back.
It's jarring optics, I suppose. And if you don't, I think if year on year you don't necessarily, maybe it's harsh because I know that he is, but increase your direct goal and assist output to a level that we would now want it to be from Noni. I would expect it to be a little bit higher, but yeah.
But he's so streaky in that exact sense, as I was saying. I can't remember how many goals he got, but it must have been like 10 or 11 maybe last year. And he got 3 of those against Wolves, and he got another goal or so around that kind of time. And then for the rest of the season, he had like 5 or 6. And it's like,
yeah,
actually, if you take 2 games away, you've had 6 in 32 games. Like 30.
It's the same as Sancho, basically.
Yeah,
it's basically.
Yeah, exactly. And like you got Enzo Fernandez scoring, getting more GA than your winger when the wingers are so important to the system that we play. That's why people get frustrated.
Well, let's talk quickly about wingers then, because Tyreek George obviously got a 3rd against Tunis, which is shocking goalkeeping, to be honest. But he got the goal.
Oh mate, that has to be the worst goalkeeping performance I've ever seen in my whole
life.
So bad. And I've watched Sanchez for 2 years, so he was awful. And Kepa, yeah. And Mendy after he won everything and just thought, fuck it, I'm going to be shit now.
I'm done.
So,
I'm done.
Yeah. Just letting like Vardy pinch the ball off him in the 6-yard box and score. Like, yeah.
Yeah, I read a quote from Mendy the other day that was like, oh, yeah, people thought I left for money, but I left because I could go to another team and win stuff. I couldn't win anymore at Chelsea. It's like, I'm not sure.
Shut your mouth, you idiot. What are you talking about? You were awful for 12 months and you've been awful since. When England played them the other day and Mendy was woeful. It's like, you've not gone to win trophies, mate. You've gone for the bag because Chelsea don't want to pay you anymore or play you anymore. Like, shut up.
I completely agree. But what do you think the future for someone like Tyreek George looks like? Because I've got, as you can see on the sort of banner along the bottom, we've got Achimpong and George there to be discussed. I think a lot of the narrative with Josh Achimpong is that he's probably more suited than Gusto. And probably warrants to maybe step above him in the pecking order. I don't know what you think of that. And then with George, I know Luke and I have discussed. I know Luke's not super hot on George. I'm not sure yet what I'm expecting from him, but I do think a loan might be beneficial. Are you in agreement on both of those statements?
Yeah, I think Josh should have been above Gusto in the pecking order from about January when he started playing in the Conference League and was by far better than Gusto had been all year and continued to be for the rest of the season. I'd be very tempted to cash in on Gusto, make a bit of profit, promote Josh, to be honest, because he could do the right back when he goes forward a bit more. He could invert into midfield. He could even do left back and invert into the midfield. He's good there, and obviously probably a little bit more easier to manage for when James is going to play whenever James is fit, and Josh you can kind of just fill in. Probably a bit easier to manage because Gusto will be eyeing up a World Cup spot in the next for next summer. So potential issues coming down the line if James stays fit. But and on George, I'm unsure. There's so many things that I see him do, and I'm like, that's really good. And then I'm like, actually, I'm not sure if you're that good, and I'm just kind of falling in love with another Cobham player and a really good song that the Chelsea fans sing. But I think he needs a loan.
Yeah, he does have a very good song. That's for sure.
Okay, it'll probably still be sung even if we did sell him, just because it's a good song.
Just vibes, yeah. It's just good vibes.
Yeah, just vibes, and we won the Conference League, so fuck it.
Let's look ahead to Benfica then before we go, because, like we say, the benefit of doing podcasts during a bit of off season is we don't have to sit here for an hour and a half and discuss Victor Osimhen or Benjamin Sesko. But I guess the most interesting thing for us is that should the fixtures fall in an interesting way, that meaning Chelsea win and Palmeiras win against Botafogo, then Chelsea can play against Willian Esteval. And Chelsea's path to the final is a little bit clearer than a lot of the other teams who are on the other side of the draw. Again, I'm not really sure how much Chelsea fans care about winning it, but I imagine once they get to a semi-final, if they get to a semi-final, then fans might be a little bit more interested, right?
I think for me, I just don't want us to lose to people that we shouldn't lose to, like Fluminense and like Benfica and Botafogo or Palmeiras if we get there. Like, if we get to the final and we play PSG and we get spanked, I'm like, well, I knew we would get spanked by PSG. It is what it is. But if we played Bayern Munich and we lost, it is what it is. But if we lose to Benfica or we lose to Botafogo or Palmeiras, and then I'll be quite annoyed. Or if we, I mean, I'd probably be slightly annoyed if we lost it Inter Milan, because they're in a bit of a, they're just in a bit of like turmoil at the moment. Like they're just going through it new. The manager situation's not fantastic, and everything like that.
Did you see the fight after the game?
Yeah, that was mental.
Yeah.
And Dumfries absolutely shit himself, by the way.
Yeah, just run off.
Just run away. Like it was like watching like a kid in the playground wind someone up and then go, "Oh shit, he's gonna hurt me," and run away. It was so strange.
Yeah. So, the players for River Plate are actually down for a fight. Who would have thought? I'm gonna leave.
This guy grew up in a favela. He might want to punch my head in.
Who would have thought these Argentinian teams are a bit feisty? Yeah.
He'd just been winding him up all game, and then as soon as the final whistle goes, he's like, he might actually snap me in half now, and then he run away.
Yeah, he's going to remember the shit I've been saying to him over the last hour and a half, and he's going to want war, and I don't fancy that, actually. It's not for me.
So strange.
So I said on Sky this week, and I think we've spoken about it before, like my biggest concern with the Club World Cup is I want to avoid injury, right? Like I really, I would rather our players all be fit than win it, genuinely.
Yeah.
I don't really care, but
that comes to the same with kind of point that I was trying to make. Like, beat the teams you should, and if you don't beat the teams where it's you shouldn't, or it's going to be a really tough game and we don't get injuries, I'm not that bothered. But it was a good chance to get some good money into the club, which hopefully that means that they can invest more in the squad, and bring us back to where we need to be. And I mean, as long as we don't have a James injury or something like that, then I think we'll be all right. I mean, the rest of the players seem quite durable, touch wood. So we should be okay. But I mean, that was more of my frustration with why James played 2 games in a row and one of them in midfield when you've got Santos, Sugu, and Lavia there. You're just like, what are you doing? Like, he played 5 days ago. It's 35-degree heat. His hamstring is absolutely hanging on by a thread. Do we really need him against Fluminense? Yeah. No, not really.
No, not Flamengo. Yeah, no, not at all. It's
Flamengo, sorry.
Yeah, Maresca's made a couple of odd moves, but obviously Andre Santos actually got the assist for George's goal. I mean, the keeper was so shit, but fair enough. Like, he got the goal and got the assist. Like, we'll stat pad if we can stat pad. Like, we'll do what we got to do.
Yeah. It was mental that we scored 3 and they were all in added time of both halves. Like, we got 2 in added time of the first half and then 1 in the 97th minute in the second half. It was so strange.
Yeah, I do feel for Delap's goal, like the touch, turn, and movement was so good. The finish was not good, but the keeper was.
It was very average. Yeah, I saw somebody on Twitter like put that chance that Jackson had against City, where like he went through and he tried to pass it in the corner and Ederson saved it, and they were like, see, look, this is what a top 9 does. And I was like, if Delap shot like that in Jackson's chance, he would have missed it as well. It was very good power, like strength, very good turn, good agility, and like it was an okay finish, but it's not like it was right in the corner. It
was actually quite a below average finish. Like, it was fairly central, not at all cornered, leaning back. The keeper's just been done by the turn. I think the keeper's been following the body movement and just got done with the little cut inside. But in terms of what you're expecting to see lineup wise and a potential score prediction, Danny, what do you think for Chelsea Benfica? I think the last time, I'm sure I'm wrong, but the last time I can remember Chelsea playing Benfica was in the Europa League final in 2013. I'm sure we've played them at some point in between, but I can't remember when.
Probably is the last time we played them because we've not been in the Champions League and we've been in the Conference League and stuff like that. So I wouldn't be massively surprised if that was the last time we played them. Lineup wise, I'd like to see Josh get some more minutes, but I feel like with James and Cucurella both being rested, they'll probably play. I'd love to see somebody else get a go in goal, but that's not going to happen. It's a scratch that I haven't been able to itch all season, but I'd love to see Nkunku in the 10 and Palmer off the right.
Yeah.
Because we just never see that. We've not seen it once. We never saw that with Felix either. And against the Benfica side, who are going to sit in and not do a lot else, I just feel like get your best players on the pitch. And I mean, we don't really have that many wingers anyway, so like, why not try it?
Yeah.
And I just want some more minutes from Santos because I'm just really concerned that if he gets fuck all minutes here and then we go into pre-season and again trying to build Caicedo and Enzo's minutes up, he doesn't play that much and stuff like that. Like I'm scared he will want to leave. Not necessarily as much as Chelsea will want to sell him, but he'll want to leave. And then Chelsea, obviously loving profit, will go, 40 million profit, and he wants to go. Yeah, we'll cash in on him, and then I wouldn't necessarily want to do that.
No.
So more Santos minutes. I'd love to see Nkunku and Palmer on the same pitch, even though Nkunku's going. But outside of that, and just win. Like it's going to be boring. We'll probably win.
Yeah, no injuries.
We'll lose 1-0. Like, is what it is. Just don't be shit and boring. And I beg Maresca stop doing stupid stuff like inverting Gusto, who ends up in the number 10 position.
Gusto being inverted makes me genuinely want to rip my eyes out. And I like Gusto as a player, but I hate seeing that.
Yeah. It reminds me of when you're playing Football Manager and you've got a tactic and you've got a formation and one of your players needs to rest in the 60th minute. So you just chuck someone in there and he's only like a half a star capable in that role, but you're like, fuck it, my starter needs to rest. And so you just throw a player in there. He's terrible. He's not terrible overall. I think he's a pretty decent fullback, but he's terrible at averting.
Yep.
And I'd argue James isn't fantastic at doing it either.
He's better than Gusto.
Yeah, but
I think Cucurella is the best one at doing it.
Yeah, 100%. And I would say like the Hato that we're linked with as well. He would be very good in that role or pushing on as well. But the thing that annoys me about the inverting is not the actually inverting itself. It's the fact that you just do it blindly, regardless of the team, regardless of who's playing, and you just invert someone. And it's just, you don't have to do it all the time. Like even the other day when you started Reece in midfield, you had Reece actually in midfield, and then Gusto was playing right back and ended up in midfield as well. So all of a sudden you have two right backs in midfield when you've got 6 centre mids, all at a very high level. Like Caicedo, Enzo, Lavia, Santos would all get in most teams in Europe, and who is a very good player as well.
Yeah.
Like we got it at points last year when you've only got Enzo and Enzo and Caicedo fit, and you might want to like boost that midfield, and you can't really play it. But just stop doing it for the sake of doing it. So annoying.
I reckon what we need to do one time, Danny, is I'm going to ask you just one question on Maresca, then I'm going to leave the pod. I'm just going to put you, just put you on the screen, and you can go for it.
The thing is, I don't actually dislike Maresca as a manager that much. It's the incessant on the same shit over and over again. And I don't care. Every tactico on Twitter can put screenshots on there and say, oh, this is a new system and we're trying new shit and blah, blah, blah. We're not. We play start a 4, we go to a 3, we invert one of our fullbacks, which is usually the wrong one, in the right back and put him into midfield. And then we pass the ball around really boringly slow. And not in a good way either. If you watch like Man City when they won the other day and when Cherki scored his first goal, you look at the way they play football and the possession they have, it is in the other person's like box, basically. In the 35, 40 yards of the kind of goal, and they're popping it around there, and they're trying to do a bit of movement and stuff like that. We do that in the middle of the pitch,
or even in our own third,
or in our own half, yeah. And then we're so slow, and we never miss a player out. Like, you look at City sometimes, yeah, they're a bit slow and boring sometimes, but you'll have Gvardiol will hit it into the right midfield, the right centre midfielder, who will skip out the right back and go right to the right winger. So the team is moving about and they're not settled. Whereas we just go left back, centre mid, right back, right winger, centre back, and you just do that, and all you see is the defence of the other team doing this. And you wonder why we don't create any chances. And I was actually talking to someone the other day. I was talking to Sam, CFC Central, and I was just saying, is there any way of breaking down the stats of first half and second half? Because you get idiots on Twitter going, oh yeah, we create the third most chances and second best clean sheets and all of that waffle. But I would say the defensive side was definitely the back end of the season. I can't dispute we got more clean sheets. I'm not sure we always looked more solid, but we got more clean sheets. And I think 75% of the big chances and all the chances we created came in the first half. Whereas if you actually looked at the second half, which in my opinion is more Maresca's football, I can't say that we would have been the third best attack in the Premier League. We were boring as anything.
Yeah, I agree. Like, it's definitely, I think that's definitely right. And you see that play out with the numbers of someone like Palmer, right?
Yeah, mate. I'm sorry. No one can argue with me. I don't care. Palmer could tell me himself, and I wouldn't believe him, that Maresca is stifling Cole Palmer. He's got 1 goal in 27 games, for fuck's sake. Like, open play goals. I think he's got a couple more, but they were penalties. But he's got 1 in like 27 in open play. And it's not even like he's creating a huge amount either. Like, he was at the back end of last season more than he was now. But I don't think I've seen him really create a chance in the Club World Cup in the first 2 games that he played. He was awful against, what was it, the second game? He was awful.
Against Flamengo.
Yeah, he was terrible.
Yeah.
So I'm sorry, but Maresca is stifling him. And at some point, with the egos that players have, if Reece James starts still not playing that great in midfield, and Gusto's inverted and he's hating it, and Cole Palmer's not scoring goals and not creating assists and stuff like that, the players will hate the football. And then once they hate the football, which in my opinion they already started doing last season, and then decided that Champions League was more important than trying to get the manager out. But he will, if he goes on a bad run at the start of the season, he'll be gone by December, because it will all just unravel, in my opinion.
And guys, there's the positivity that we bring Danny Windsor onto the podcast for. It's absolutely electric.
I don't want to be negative. I don't want to. But like, the transfers aren't going great. Maresca's football is still shit. And it's just like, obviously I need to hold my judgment on the transfers, because it is only technically the second week of a normal window or something like that. And there's probably a lot of moving parts that we don't hear about. But yeah, we haven't addressed anything we really needed. And the football looks exactly the same.
Yeah, I'm kind of with you. I was asked a question as to what I thought about Chelsea's transfer business, and I said I'm fairly happy with Estevao and Santos coming back, and Delap is a good player.
Like 2 years ago, like 2 years ago, and then you've triggered a release clause on a relegated side, like, who looks good. Don't get me wrong, but that's not fantastic business. Everybody in pretty much the whole of Europe wanted Delap because he was only 30 million and he looks pretty good. That's not like, well done, Chelsea. You found a gem out of nowhere.
Yeah, agreed. And so much of it, like we've said before, comes to outgoings too. Like, if they can successfully get rid of a lot of players that we could list off, then I'd be more okay with conceding the fact that the window's been very good. But we'll see. It's early days.
We haven't seen any.
All right, Danny. Let's end it.
Have we? With sales?
No.
I don't see any really links at all.
No, none. Literally none. I have no idea who's going where, or if anyone's going to go anywhere, or whether we're going to start the season with about 150 players.
I think the only thing we've really seen is Man United know what it would take to get Nkunku. Chelsea know what it takes to get Garnacho.
Yeah.
Which is a shit move all round for everybody involved, I think. And then I think Matt Law said, well, Dewsbury Hall will leave, but I can't go into any details on it. And I think outside of that, we've not seen anything. Oh, and Petrovic not going to the Club World Cup. That's literally it. And we need to sell about 25 players.
I think the post Club World Cup outgoings will probably fill up a lot of podcasts over the next sort of 6 weeks or so. That's for sure.
Yeah.
All right, Danny. Before we go, because it'll probably be you and I next week as well as Luke, or Luke and I, whoever. We'll work it out.
Yeah.
But just a quick score prediction for Chelsea Benfica on Saturday, 9 p.m. UK time. Right, the game kicks off.
Yeah, I think so. My prediction will be like a 1-0 either way, and I'd like to think it will be Chelsea, but I think because they will sit in so deep and we are prone to an error from somewhere, that's why I say 1-0 either way, but it will not be exciting. Unless they change their plan and come and attack us because they don't respect us like they respect Bayern Munich. But my prediction based off the last game is it will be a very boring 1-0 where we'll probably spend most of the time on our phone when the game's on.
Yeah. I actually think the same thing. I think it'll be 1-0 either way too. So it's nice to have a bit of synergy there. Danny, before we go, anything you want to add?
No.
No. All good, beautiful, guys. Listen, we'll leave it there. 45 minutes, not so bad, considering there's been fairly nothing going on at the moment besides a few dead games against ES Tunis. But we will be back, of course, next week to cover all things Chelsea. Maybe Jamie Gittins will be playing in blue at the time. Maybe Chukwuemeka will be still in yellow. We don't know. We'll see how it goes. I'm sure someone will come in and someone will leave, hopefully by next week. But who knows? We'll see. Guys, until then, thank you so much. We'll catch you next time. Goodbye.